Okay, welcome everybody. And those who are new to us, they may get some more information who we are. Those who know us already, you just happy. Should be happy about how we proceed. So in October 2022, our meetup group will celebrate 2 years anniversary. Would you imagine? And that we held already 6 meetups with speakers from US, Canada, Slovakia, Belgium, Latvia, and we already have 161 members on our meetup group. And of course, the industry news, the upcoming event, Sitecore Symposium in 2022 will be happening in October 17 to 20. And somehow later on, we will know where exactly. That will be part of our warm-up activity. In the meanwhile, you can again check if you follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and if you have subscribed on Meetup and YouTube channel. We used to place our upcoming meetups and industry trends on LinkedIn and Facebook pages. Meetups is always announcing on the upcoming events. And in the YouTube channel, we place the video recordings from the event, and this one will be also placed in the YouTube channel. If you missed some of our events, feel free to go and replay. That's also would be one of the good, interesting source of information for you. And yeah, the agenda for today, we are starting with some warm-up quiz. After that, Peter Navarra will present his topic, website search in composable world. So he'll explore why website search is so important and provide a tour on SearchStack's studio product. And after that, as usual, question and answer sessions will be held. So that will be short comparing to other meetups. So it will be short meetup this time, but of hopefully very essential. Now let me represent our speaker. Is Peter Navarra, Sitecore Technology MVP. Pete is the Vice President of Digital Experience Solutions for SearchStacks, a website search company. Pete has been involved with the Sitecore community and platform over 15 years. And is 5-time Sitecore Technology MVP and known as the Sitecore Hacker. So, Pete, the stage is yours. Maybe you can also tell us what is the trick behind Peter. And Pete, in some sources, you miss R at the end of your name. So,
I'm
is it a
Boston.
hack?
I'm from Boston, so we drop our R's. Kidding.
Ah, okay.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness. Well, thank you for having me. By the way, this is that quiz was actually a lot of fun. My mouse button was right over Chicago when the answers came up, so I knew exactly how. It was 0.6 seconds that I got on that answer, so that was a lot of fun.
Mm.
So, first off, welcome to SugBaltics. Thank you for attending this meetup. It's really important that folks have the community inside of their local user group communities to attend and kind of share in the both the technical knowledge, but also just in the social and cultural aspect of getting to see each other. I know that with COVID and a lot of other, especially when people are in separate places, it's hard when we're having to do this on video. But I wish I was there in Riga with most of you, being able to provide this presentation. So first off, quick SugBaltics agenda on my presentation here. Quick welcome and introduction, and then we're going to really dive into talking about Composable DXP and really to understand what Composable DXP is, which is our future. We really need to understand what our past is, and so I'm going to dive into a little bit about what a monolith is, why Composable DXP is our future, and then we're going to dive right into where website search fits in that future. And then I'm going to spend a few minutes introducing our SearchStack Studio product. So as was said previously, I am the VP of our DXP Solutions here at SearchStacks. What is DXP Solutions? We are the product awareness ambassadors. We're the technical evangelists. We're the folks that reach out to the developer communities and communities alike to really give insight into our products, but also just enrich the community with content and as much support as possible. I am also a 5-time Sitecore MVP, and you can find me on pretty much any of the socials at Sitecore Hacker. There's a fun story behind that, but maybe for another time. So what is a monolith? I think this is a really important conversation. Probably the biggest monolith that this group has had experience with is actually Sitecore. But what makes it a monolith? Now, before I get too far into this, part of this presentation is going to feel like I'm being super critical of Sitecore. I'm actually not. In fact, Sitecore has done an amazing job reimagining itself into a composable world. But its journey is one that we can relate to as I describe what a monolith is. A monolithic architecture is when you structure your application as a single project, thus having to deploy it as a single entity. Usually this means that you have your UI code on the same project as your business logic, which is also part of the project where your data access code resides. Essentially, it's all living together, usually coupled to the point where you can't really begin to think of deploying a single section of it without having to deploy the entirety of it. This leads to dependency requirements everywhere. How many have had to reference the Sitecore kernel.dll in one of their projects? If you're a developer, if you're a Sitecore developer like me with a pulse, I'm sure every single one of us has had to reference the Sitecore kernel.dll at some point or another. New features and new concepts are added directly into the monolith. We saw a great example of this in Sitecore 7.5 and Sitecore 8 with the inclusion of the experience database, or XDB. This was a tightly coupled monolith design pattern. And for anybody who's been in the Sitecore space for any number of years, virtually show of hands if you've ever had to customize XDB in Sitecore 8. Good luck with that. Godspeed. Monoliths have also this amazing opportunity to introduce bugs everywhere. Because it's a monolith, having to ensure that your regression testing touches every part becomes a necessity. This leads to lengthy QA times, with the end result being expansive known issue lists. I'm sure we've all seen at least one of these for one version of Sitecore or another. And once a monolith, creating modules becomes extremely difficult. A great example, and if you know me, if you know my experience with Sitecore, this probably won't come as a surprise, but a great example of this is Email Experience Manager. If you remember back in the days of Sitecore 7, we had Email Campaign Manager, and in Sitecore 8, that got rebranded into Email Experience Manager. At that time, EXM was a module. It looks like we have people waiting in the lobby. EXM was a module that you plugged into Sitecore after the fact. This led to complex and often messy implementation patterns that actually caused more issues than they were solving. I advocated back in, I want to say 2017, 2018, for Email Experience Manager to actually be included in the monolith because of the sheer number of core dependencies that were needed, especially on the XDB side. The end result was actually Sitecore 9 and EXM becoming native to the product. The upside is that implementing EXM became way easier. The downside, we just expanded the monolith by about 25%. But monoliths aren't all bad. Continuing to use Sitecore as an example, activities such as logging, monitoring the performance, or even caching can be quite complicated to orchestrate and can turn into a problem of their own when dealing with microservices. This is because you have multiple applications somewhat doing the same things in different places independently of each other. This is not a problem with Monolith since everything happens in the same place. As an example, with Sitecore, it's so easy to log to the Sitecore log file. Just add in log.debug anywhere in your code and you're good to go. And have you ever had to deploy a 10 microservices architecture? The orchestration required can topple even the best of the DevOps, especially if you're having to set it all up manually. And don't get me started if there's even more services around. Whereas with a monolith, you would have to just deploy a single project once and it works. The best way to scale a monolith is to deploy parallel copies and have a load balancer, excuse me, and have a load balancer distribute the traffic amongst copies. Granted, you'll probably want to use something like sticky sessions, remember that, to keep the users interfacing with the same copy of the app, unless you're able to store the sessions somewhere else. We see this with Sitecore, Redis Cache for sessioning, or SQL Server for sessioning. And we also saw that pattern with Sitecore pretty much everywhere. The CD is just a copy of the CM with some config changes. Need more CDs? Just copy the CD. Writing the code for a monolith can also be simpler. Why is this? Well, it's because small projects might benefit from having some minor coupling between different components, simplifying your data transfer and other interactions. What's easier, to call a method of a class and maybe do some resharper tricks to get it using in there, or to send an HTTP request, which requires you to serialize the complex object you're dealing with in memory, and then wait for response, deal with the error messages with that response, and then serialize it or deserialize it back into a complex object. Sometimes a simple method call is all you need. We see this action in the Helix guidelines. It's just easier to have an inheritance dependency model where I can reference a complex object. Now, as I said earlier, it probably feels like I'm picking on Sitecore, but Sitecore's journey to a composable future is a textbook case study on how monoliths change. Monoliths become super messy when architects start to lean in on suggesting that microservices architecture is the way to go. This creates the monster known as the distributed monolith. This begins with introducing microservices for the sake of introducing microservices. Unfortunately, we saw this in Sitecore 9 with the creation and introduction of XConnect, a microservices architecture meant to wrap and contain XDB. All this really did was 10x the amount of deployment horror for most implementations and add in complex certificate management that caused many of us to just ignore XConnect. Prior to the introduction of XConnect, this was primarily the architecture of the Sitecore Experience Platform. A couple different duplicated instances with different configurations, some databases, and a host of indexes. But then XConnect was introduced. 10 new web apps and 3 new Windows services. 10 new database structures, 1 new index. And every DevOps engineer cried in horror. But breaking apart the monolith isn't an attractive endeavor, and often the process for doing such results in a messy infrastructure, such as X. So the next step in the evolution, heading towards a composable future, is the introduction of Sitecore X in cloud. Truly SaaS-based content management service, one of the biggest changes that Sitecore has done to its platform since probably Sitecore 5. The other biggest change that they did in creating X in Cloud was that they reduced the number of responsibilities that X in Cloud is providing. Now, X in Cloud is just providing the content management services, which includes the content editing, the experience editor, the media library, pages. To some extent, even the media library has been replaced by Sitecore Content Hub. Publishing is pushed off by Experience Edge, which is a GraphQL repository, and UX implementation is now completely headless. And a series of APIs are provided instead, allowing for static site hosting, think React, Next.js, etc. Personalization is also handed off to Sitecore Personalized. And most importantly for our journey tonight, the removal of the Sitecore Content Search monolithic API. GraphQL is not geared or providing search results in the way that search results need to be delivered, which currently means in XM Cloud, and in the XM Cloud architecture, there's room for website search from other providers to provide a composable solution. Now, currently, Sitecore does have solutions on the horizon, namely Sitecore Search, but that's not ready. It's going to be something new, and let's lean in to what that means in a composable DXP. So our future is headed for composable DXP architecture. In fact, in most cases these days, it's already here. But what exactly is composable DXP? Composable DXP is a digital experience platform that is assembled from a series of best-in-breed solutions that work together via APIs and leverage microservices architecture. It's not one product, but it's a system of products that links different products together and organizes assets as editable modules that are easy to find and update. Peter Brinkman actually provides a really nice image that sums up how DXP architecture can be made up of a really diverse set of products, integrating the best of breeds solutions from multiple vendors, which allows those products to perform specific functions and features and do them well. As an example, in this image, we have our content sources, which could come from Headless CMS, which is XM Cloud, could come from a Headless Commerce, could come from other systems. And your solution on how you deploy those could be any number of headless architectures, for instance, Next.js, React, etc. And how you host them can actually be any number of different types of hostings. And then for the modules and the other features that plug into those, you can have any number of cloud solutions. This leads to a plethora of options in the marketplace that can be matched to your business requirements and creates competition, which is actually healthy for everyone. All communicating across a common API framework, generally RESTful APIs with some JSON contracts. And lastly, generally speaking, replacing one component of this architecture will not require a full-blown rewrite. So how does website search factor into composable DXP architecture? It does so by delegating the responsibilities for search indexing, crawling, and delivering results to a product geared specifically for that to work. This is achieved by having that common API framework that all systems and developers can easily integrate with. And composable website search also needs to have a headless implementation path. And let's be clear here. Just because it's composable doesn't mean it's plug and play. Implementation setup does generally have to happen with these products. And while starter kits and accelerators might be available, business requirements for search are often complex and varied significantly. A true headless website search focuses more on making sure you know how to utilize the common API framework so that you can spend more time on crafting the UX and UI of your search results. And when done correctly, a truly composable website search allows you to fully configure and adjust your search experience without intervention from a developer and provides a no-code solution for changes. Imagine being a marketer and wanting to add a complex facet. As long as the data is in the index, that marketer should be able to go into their website search DXP and configure a new facet and have it immediately available. This is the future we speak of when we look at a composable future. And because it's composable, there are multiple options in the marketplace providing these services. You have Algolia, got Coveo, and of course, my personal favorite, but maybe I'm biased, the SearchStack. Not every one of these products will be a fit for every customer. And said differently, not every customer will be a fit for these products. But because we're not talking about a monolithic architecture here, these services can be swapped out. And more importantly, you don't have to move your entire architecture right now to a fully blown composable DXP architecture. As an example, let's say that you're on Sitecore 10.2 in an IaaS deployment. If you want to actually change up your search results, get rid of Sitecore Content Search API, and bring in another platform, you can add in Search Stack Studio as an example now. And when the time comes for you to finally migrate to a fully composable DXP architecture with headless architecture, and maybe you're on XM Cloud, you can take your search analytics, all your search boosting, your relevance models, all of your other settings with you. And that's because replacing your CMS doesn't mean rewriting all of your architecture. Search stacks can come with you. So why the focus on website search results? Why is it so important? For starters, search is critical to digital experiences. And let's be honest, Sitecore Content Search API is not fully featured, nor has parity with even native Solr. A Harris Poll survey done this year against 200 websites and 10,000 customers showed that companies continue to fail at optimizing the search experience. $300 billion in abandonment costs in the USA alone. 84% of all companies failed to measure and optimize their website search experience. Why is this? Generally speaking, it's because the tools that were provided by some monolithic platforms failed to integrate wrappers or enough marketing-friendly UI that, to make this stuff easy for marketers. This presents the digital marketer's challenge. They are constantly tasked with providing Google-like experiences while balancing quick time-to-value implementation cycles. They're expected to be self-sufficient, yet lack the appropriate analytics and insight that are needed. Custom solutions and implementation partners constantly rewriting the wheel when it comes to inventing search results. This complex and expensive technology makes marketing completely abandon improving their search altogether. Which leads me to introducing all of you to Search Stack Studio, an easy-to-use search platform with robust infrastructure, developer and marketing tools, and advanced machine learning that enables marketing to deliver powerful search results experiences at scale. This allows search stacks to make it easy for your search results, providing your marketers and your consumers with the best-in-breed experience with up-to-date and latest features. It also allows your developers to have a quick time-to-value implementation and gives your executives the analytics and insights that are actually actionable that allow your marketers to have easy-to-use tools for a rapid response. Right features for developers and marketers to deliver the best search experiences. We offer insights and analytics, scalable APIs, AI-powered recommendations, UX accelerators, and best practices, all baked around a SaaS offering, composable DXP offering, with a slew of APIs that can all be implemented in a headless fashion. And don't just take our word for it. Embedded search of choice for digital experiences for a number of companies listed here. We are also a global, proven, and trusted company with over 500 companies. Our customers were in 20 different countries and high performer on the G2 review site. We also have an expansive global ecosystem of partners and developers that are helping us and helping our customers implement creative and exciting search experiences. But enough of all that marketing talk. How about a demo? So I'm going to take a quick second to switch my sharing here around. And so just one second as we do that. I'm going to just ask for a quick confirmation that you see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, so to kind of dive into what we mean when we talk about SaaS website search results and really giving a lot of power to creative search result experiences, I'm going to walk through a couple of our clients. For instance, the Australian Catholic University, they have implemented Search Stack Studio in their site search. So when we start typing for, say, healthcare, we see that there's 651 results that show up, And they have the ability to have some filters. If I want to look for courses, I can actually dive down and see all the courses about healthcare. If I want to, change the relevance, I can look at the most recent ones. This is an example of our website search results through Search Text Studio on a website. The other cool feature that I want to just point out is they're using our search feedback feature that actually opens up a screen that allows the visitor on the website to provide the marketer with an information about how their search experience was. How satisfied were they? Do they have any comments? Was there anything in their search experience where maybe they were expecting to find it and they couldn't find it? And maybe, provide an email address to reach out for a response. This is one of our cool features that is optional for folks if they just, decide to implement it. Another customer is Banner Health, and thank you for your banner. So when we start typing in, say, COVID-19, you're going to see that there's a number of results. I say number of results, looks like about one. Let's do health. I didn't actually try that. Yeah, so it looks like we have 2,465 results. But look at this, look at the design. It's completely different from how other customers have implemented our search. They have decided to organize this as different types. So you have your doctors, if you want to get into your doctor finder, you have your services, you have your blogs. Again, they have chosen to go a little bit different route on how you actually present the search results. But at the end of the day, this is all being powered by Search Text Studio. And probably one of my favorite sites, but maybe I'm a little bit biased, is our own website. We actually, surprise, surprise, run Search Text Studio as our search result page. So as I start to type, you're going to see auto suggestion pop up. You're going to be able to choose from one of these. So we're going to say Sitecore. You're going to see that we have 249 results for Sitecore. We have a couple different facets. If I click on documentation, you can see, okay, now great. I can now only see just the documentation that we have for Sitecore, and we can see that we have one promoted documentation, which is referenced by the star here. When I take off the facet again, you're going to see we actually have quite a few promoted pieces of content before we get into the rest of the results. And you can see that we're showing 30 results. We also have the ability to gather the search feedback. You can also change your view style. So if you wanted to have a different view style for the different types, you can build that in as part of your UI. And you can also, have your newest or oldest content. So we sort by newest. You can see that it actually does sort by newest and changes the promotions. Or when you go back to relevance, it does bring the promotions back to the top. But let's get into how this really works. So I'm going to log into Search Text Studio. Boom, we're here. You didn't see my password, I hope. Let me refresh. Yep, we're good. All right, so we're logged into basically what the tenants of a Search Text Studio tenant. And so you may have multiple applications. You may have multiple websites that are running in your tenant of Search Text Studio, and that's okay. What we're looking at here, and I'm going to pin this menu there. What we're looking at here is actually our corporate website app. You can also choose from a number of different apps that you might have running, but for ours, we're on our corp site. You can also see that we have only one language enabled, but Search Text Studio does support 23 different languages, and we're constantly adding more as demand requires. So what are we looking at right now? We're looking at the dashboard analytics. So this is really from a marketer or an executive perspective. They can log into the dashboard. Let's see, I'm going to close this. They can log into the dashboard and really get a at-a-glance view at how search is performing on their site. They can see the total searches with clicks. I'm not going to go through all of these. You can kind of go through and see kind of what you're looking for. But you do get the click-through rate, you get the rate of your top 10% of searches, as an et cetera. And you can also change the scope of your reporting. So let's say this year, for us, we've actually had 7.8 thousand total searches on our website. And we've had 2,000 of those searches that actually had a click-through rate. So that's about a 24.2% click-through. And our average search latency across the year is about 7.7 milliseconds. So you can also see the different types of searches that folks are searching on. You get a total of 3,000 sessions. Again, I'm not going to go through all these. You can kind of see we provide a lot of analytics. We also provide most popular searches, so you can kind of see what people are searching for the most. And you have the ability to drill down into those and see the content that is actually being associated with those. And you can see that Sitecore relies on a search stacks managed Solar is our top performing item clicked when somebody searches for Sitecore. We've gotten 16,944 hits on them. You can also look at your items and say, okay, what's the total number of impressions that we've had? We had a total number of 1,000 clicks. It's about a 2.4% click-through rate. I'm sure other sites might be more compelling. You also you can see what your most clicked are and your least clicked. Oh, and I'm going to go back to searches because I did leave out that in addition to most popular searches, you also get feedback on which searches are actually returning no results. This allows the marketer to actually get bubbled up and find out, okay, hey, this is an item where we should have results being returned. There must be a content issue or a taxonomy issue where a piece of content isn't tagged correctly. Or maybe the word that people are looking for isn't referenced enough in the piece of content, and so maybe some content editing needs to happen in order to get that to bubble up. We also have searches that have been done that returned results, but nobody clicked on anything. And this also gives you an idea of, hey, is this search term actually returning the proper results that we want? And if not, that may be an area where we want to produce a promotion in order to bubble up a piece of content to the top of that result. Again, diving into the items, you can go through and find out which of your items are most popular. And then last but not least, you also have the power search, which allows you to actually find out different types of reports that you can drill down into based on a number of different factors. So for instance, hey, if I wanted to see what my click-through rate was, I wanted to see what searches, and you can also change that to items, but yeah, I want to see which searches produced a click-through rate of greater than 60%. And I can run that report, and this will show me all the different searches that people have ran and what their click-through rate was. So this gives you an idea. So you can also reverse it and say, hey, I want to know which pieces of content are not giving me a click-through rate. And you can actually look and find out that, hey, scaling isn't really producing that much of a click-through rate. Maybe we need to add in some content that actually talks about our scaling mechanisms in Solar, as an example. Live demonstration of where I'm actually looking at and realizing I think we could probably add some content about that. And then we talked about the search feedback that folks can leave the marketer feedback. So this is what the resulting reports look like. You actually get a net promoter score based on the ranking that's provided. You get your satisfaction pie chart and then your NPS over time. You also get to see the comments that are left and the email address based on whether or not somebody wants to be contacted, and then the date that's received. This is a really great way for marketers to both engage with their visitors, but also get valuable feedback about how well their search is actually working. So now that we've gone through a lot of the analytics portion of what Search Stack Studio brings, I think now is a great time to also mention that we have a fully blown out analytics API. This analytics API actually allows you to pull all of the analytics that we just covered into other enterprise analytics systems like Power BI, Tableau. If your organization has a really well-defined analytics process, Search Stack Studio allows us to get that information out of the dashboard and into your analytic platform. Moving on, let's get a little bit more technical. We talk about Search Stack Studio being API driven. What does that really mean? Well, when you click on the settings of an application, you're actually going to get a full-blown list of our APIs. So our search API is available and our endpoint is available right here. This gives you access to understanding how you would interface with the search URL as well as the suggest URL. And we provide basic authentication credentials for reading and writing, excuse me, to both of those. I'm going to take just a quick drink of water. Thank you. All right. So that's our search API. We also have our discovery API. This actually provides the endpoints so you can get access to the related searches. You can also get access to popular searches. So if you wanted to have an element on your search results that showcase what the popular searches were, you can have an API endpoint to get there. And those endpoints are available via a discovery API key. We talked about the analytics URL. Here is those reporting and tracking APIs. There is a tracking URL so that when somebody clicks on something, that feedback and that analytic gets into the system. We don't actually track any personal information outside of the submit feedback if somebody provides it. We don't track any personal information with this analytics. It's all anonymous analytics. It's all based on just how a singular visit on a singular instance is using the site. We also have our reporting API, as we discussed. And of course, then we also have the search feedback, which kind of gives you some snippets that you can drop into your website to get that search feedback bar. So that's, in a nutshell, the quick way to get access to our APIs. All of our APIs are actually documented on our website, so you can go through and actually read how to utilize those APIs and implement them successfully. Now, once we've got the APIs implemented, let's talk about our actual search results. So this is where the power shifts from the developer to the marketer. We have what's called the results configuration that allows the results to display. What this is actually defining, these are all the fields that we may be indexing in the Studio Index that we are going to expose and make available for the search results to actually show. So when we look at a search result, break it down, we have a type of result, we maybe have a title, maybe we have a path, we have a date, we have a snippet, even down to whether or not it's promoted. These are all different types of information that we expose through the API, and that contract or that list of fields is actually defined here. So you can say, okay, this return field is going to go for this label, it maps to this, and you can move it up or down based on how you want it to do it. You can also adjust, this is one of my favorite things, and I don't know why, but you can also adjust your result set row count. So right now, you might have seen that we were showing 30 rows, but I've decided that as a marketer, I really only want to show 10. I think 30 is too much. There's just too much scrolling. I published that. We're going to publish. And oh, by the way, I just made a change. I'm a marketer. I didn't have to get a developer to go in and change the results down to 10. That's a pretty easy change, by the way, but just to show you kind of where the power is that we're going with how marketers have the control, no developer was needed. We also have hit highlighting, which is really important. You might have noticed when I type Sitecore here, Sitecore is bolded in a couple of various different places. Now, the UI and UX for this is totally dependent on the creative design and how they want it. This could actually look like a highlight. This could actually look like something else, a different font, what have you. The key being that you can make that highlight look however you want, and you can turn it off and disable it if you needed to. Then we get into faceting. So faceting is really interesting. So on our website, you'll see that we have 3 different types of facets. We have content type, author name, and meta keywords. Now, in the actual display here, we're only showing 2, and that's because one of the facets, none of the results are actually showing content for. So we're only showing 2 facets. But as a marketer, I'm realizing that I'm getting a lot of feedback that my visitors really want the facet based on the date field. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the date field, and we're going to say date, and we're going to have it do a count. And I'm going to add this as another facet. And because I'm a marketer, I have all the control. I'm going to publish this. I'm sure our marketing team loves the fact that I'm messing with our website right now. When I refresh this page, boom, you're going to see we have a 3rd facet now of dates. And oh, I don't really like where date is situated. I want to move that down. We're going to move that down under content type. When we publish that, and I refresh, now we have date in where I kind of want it to show up. So when I can search on it, it automatically starts filtering results. And before I get yelled at by our marketing department, I'm going to go ahead and just delete that, and I'm going to publish that back out. So it gives you a really close example of how the power of organizing your search results, building your search result page, and the act of making it functional for your users is really in the power of the marketer. Again, same with the sorting. You have the ability to add different sort methods. We have newest and oldest content based on the date ascending or descending. You could also sort this based on the title field if you wanted to, again, ascending or descending. You can do it automatically. We publish the page. It gets added to the list. So if I did that with the title field and I said, hey, I wanted to ascend and say, I think the send is A to Z, right? A to Z. And I add that, publish. Now, when I refresh the screen here, you're going to see that we have a different sort method. I say A to Z, and now it's thinking. All right, maybe I might have broken that. We're going to go ahead and remove that one for right now. We're going to say publish. Maybe if I have time, I'll come back to that. So going through the faceting sorting, you also are going to go through basic relevance. So with basic relevance, you have things like your stop words, you have your synonyms, and you have your spell check. These are all areas where you can basically define, or through dictionary, what all of your stop words you're going to stop searching on, and whatever kind of synonyms. For instance, we have a synonym. If somebody does a search for AEM, it's actually going to search for Adobe Experience Manager. And then also on the spell check side, you can load up your dictionary, but you can also add in fields manually. Now it comes to the relevance modeling, which is probably the most important, most powerful feature of Search Stack Studio. Relevance modeling is where we can define different types of models for different purposes. A good example of this is that with Sitecore, we have the ability to actually take Sitecore personas. Let's say you've got your analytics set up to where Sitecore is detecting a persona. Using the rules engine, we can actually define a certain relevance model in Studio that maps to a certain persona on your website. So for example, let's say you have an education or a university website. You may have personas of student or teacher. And so when a student gets classified on Sitecore as the student persona, we may want to show more student-facing activities or student-facing content. So we may have it go towards a student relevance model that's going to change the different types of content that's shown. It may boost content a little bit differently. Maybe we promote different content. Maybe we have rules that do things differently. It's all based around the student. But for the teachers, maybe we want different content there. So all of that is defined within the relevance model. And so what do we actually have? First off, it starts with, we can define for each relevance model which fields in our index we will actually look at and search for hits on keywords. So for our website, for our corporate website search, we are looking at a number of these different types of fields that keyword might be able to get a hit on. Additionally, you can define global filters. Now, as a default relevance model, generally speaking, you're probably not going to have any include only or exclude results matching. But if we think about the student and teacher personas, you may want to include results that match things like student clubs and courses and books, but you may want to exclude things like teacher seminars and learning opportunities for teachers. In the same regards, for the teacher persona, you may want to exclude student clubs and other activities that are more student-facing that teachers don't necessarily might not have a need for. Those are just examples. I have no idea if that's actually relevant or not. But in addition to the global filters, you also have ranking. So this is where we can say, hey, if one of the hits for our search result is on the title field, we want to boost that ranking all the way up to 100. That's going to give it the most amount of chance to get as close to the top of the results as possible. But if the hit for the result isn't in the title, but it's in the meta description, then we're only going to boost that by about 82%. And if it's in both, it gets boosted by 100% and then boosted by 82%. It means it's a really relevant piece of content. You can also do ranking based on a function. So here we have a really complex function of where it's based on the date. I have no idea what this function is doing, by the way, but it's whatever it is. If it gets hit, it's ranking it by about an additional 38%. Next, we have rules, and rules are really interesting because this can define how search results are actually processed. So we have one for, say, like managed solar as an example. Managed solar has a trigger here where if the search term contains managed solar, we're going to replace that search term with quotes managed solar. And that way we know that managed solar is always going to be returned as a single term, managed solar, and not search results that have managed or solar in their results. Other types of rules, you can get really complicated, by the way. Let's see, rule number 9. This is a fun one. So if a search term is security or contains security, then first off, we're going to filter on a field value of title, and we're going to filter that based on the word hacker, and we're going to boost using a field value of title with human engineering, and we're going to boost that ranking to 50, and we're going to boost using a function based on date. We're going to boost that to 50, and we're going to replace the search term with antivirus. I have no idea why anybody would want to do this, but this is an example of really how complex you can get with your rules. Last but not least, in the relevance model, you can create promotions, and these are things like the suggested results or the things that get sticky to the top of search results. These are what we call promotions. So for instance, with XM Cloud, you're going to see that we have, if I click on it, there we go. If the exact search term match is XM Cloud, we're going to stick 2 results to the top. And if nothing shows up, we at least now have content for these two results, and they're going to be ordered. So going back to our website, let's see here if this came back. Yeah. So if I type in XM Cloud here, my browser stuck. Yeah. Close that up, my. All right, go back. Clearly something. There we go. I don't know what was going on with my browser there for a second. So here we have XM Cloud, 553 results are showing up, but we're sticking to the top 2 of them, which is the XM Cloud and the solar disaster recovery work, which are defined in our relevance model. Going back to that, in our promotions for XM Cloud, and you can see that these are the 2 results that came to the top. If I wanted to, I can move this second one up, hit the publish button. I think this makes the most sense. Once this gets published, I can refresh this search result here. And you can see now that I've moved up XM Cloud to the top of that result. Again, instant, no need for developers, and we're good to go. So that kind of gets us through the relevance modeling. Again, pretty powerful. One of the most powerful aspects of our tool. You can actually have different areas of your site you can also use Relevance Model to filter content. As an example, if you have a blog site in addition to your normal content site, and you want results in your blog site to only show blogs, you can use Relevance Model to really filter just the blog type of results. You also have a baked-in kind of preview here. So if you wanted to go through and preview results and how it's going to look on kind of on your web page, but without all the markup, you can look here and see how your web results are going to look through the preview. And then last but not least, our recommendation engine. So we have two. One of them is the auto suggest. Now you can pre-bake a certain number of auto suggest words that are going to start to show up when somebody starts typing, but there's also a lot of machine learning baked into this. So as people are using the site and using your search bar and entering in key terms, it's going to start to learn what types of content, what types of keywords you might want to actually be looking for, and start to auto suggest those in the dropdown if that's implemented. You can also turn off that feature by just unchecking this. And then last is the related searches, which I'll highlight here. We actually put them on the bottom of our search results, but you can see, for instance, if I was to go to like Nashville.gov, which is also one of our clients, when you type in budget here, they actually put the related searches at the top of their search results. Really, all related searches is a way of saying, and looks like none are showing up there. So I'm going to go here. So all this is showing is related searches. These are the keyword searches that other people looked on, where the results might actually be similar to the results that you're looking for. So even though I search for budget on Nashville.gov, I might actually be more interested in the Citizens Guide to the Metro Budget, or maybe the 2022 budget. Maybe I'm actually looking for an understanding of the Metro budget. So it's all kinds of different options there for related searches. And then we also have our connector. So we have a Sitecore connector, and we also have a Drupal module connector. So that's really the brief. I say brief. That was pretty in-depth demo of our Search Stack Studio product. And as I said earlier, all of our documentation is actually available on our website. So you can go to the website, you can go to developer documentation, and you can get access to all of our APIs, all of our information about how to actually implement them, but also our integrations. So we have a Sitecore module 1.6, which is compatible up to Sitecore 10.2 now, as well as we're compatible with Docker and a number of other different implementation processes. So with that, I am going to switch back over, if I can figure out how, my slide deck here. And I'm going to say thank you. Great. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, looks like no. Thank you very much. Thank you for presentation. And yeah, we really thank everyone who joined our meetup this time. Follow us again on our social media. We will announce for the next meetup, which will be also coming maybe within 2 months. And again, the presentation video will be shared on our LinkedIn channel. Feel free, or LinkedIn, sorry, YouTube channel, and well, it will be also announced in LinkedIn and Facebook. So subscribe to our channel and keep tuned. So yeah, any feedback, we appreciate that a lot. Feel free to approach me or Kranti for any feedback if you have. Great. Then I say we may close our meetup, and I wish everyone a very good day and have a nice week as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.